and we appreciate TCU football coach Sonny Dykes joining us on 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, and I'm David Smoak. Coach Dykes, thank you very, very much. What did you learn, anything differently about your team from the win in Austin?
Well, yeah, we had to win the game probably a little different than we had, some others. I don't know that anybody that follows college football thought that game would be a 3-0 game going in at halftime. And so, it ended up being a little bit different football game than maybe we thought it was going to be. I thought it would be a little bit more high scoring and our defense played so well and we struggled. You got to give Texas a lot of credit. I thought their defense really played well and played fast, particularly in the first half. And so, we learned that we could win a game with our defense, really. And, what we tried to do once the game revealed itself to us that, okay, let's manage the game. Let's make sure we punt. We're not going to go for it on fourth down. We're a team that looks some at analytics, but we closed the book on analytics and we said, okay, let's play this game like an old fashioned football game. And, we punted from the 35-yard line. A couple of times, which is again kind of out of our character, but we pinned them down at the 1. And, we thought, our defense is playing so well and, we're pressuring the quarterback and let's try to protect the football and, go win on defense. And we were able to do that and got our run game going late in the third quarter and through the fourth quarter. And we're able to win a really tough, physical, hard fought football game.
Coach, as you sit here at 10-0, can you look back to a point between the time you took the job and now where you started to feel that this team could be capable of something that is really, really special?
Well, I think there's been a couple of times. We got out of spring ball and thought, wow, we've got some good players, probably a little bit better talent than we thought we would have maybe coming in. So we had some huge holes. We were really, really needed some defensive linemen. We just didn't have the bodies on the defensive front. So, we had to go find some guys, and we were really lucky. Found a kid from California that's come in and started for us at nose tackle, Dom Williams, and he's been an outstanding player. We got a couple of transfers, Timon Mitchell from the University of Georgia, Caleb Fox from Stephen F. Austin, Lawal Ugak from Connecticut, and just were able to start filling in. And then we had some guys that had been more role players for us that have really stepped up at that position. Dylan Horton, I think, has become one of the better defensive linemen in the Big 12. And so, once we were able to get those guys here and get them in our strength and conditioning program, we started to feel better about our team, probably third week of fall camp. And then to me, during the season, playing Oklahoma, I think was big for us. We played them pretty early. It was our first conference game and really got off to a good start against those guys and felt like we matched up from a talent standpoint, from a size and strength standpoint, from a physicality standpoint. And I think at that point we all thought, well, you know what, we have a chance to have a good team and let's see where this goes. And our guys started to get more confident week in and week out. And all of a sudden you look up and here you are. And so it's been a fun ride. But I do think there's been 3 or 4 different instances where we said, you know what, we have a chance to do something that might be pretty fun.
Coach Dykes with us on 365 Sports. To have that kind of transfer infusion, there can also be the juggling of chemistry, et cetera. Was that ever an issue at all? It appears not.
Not at all. We were very intentional about the guys that we brought in and how they fit. And, we didn't want to sacrifice short-term success, in the result of long-term failure. That was really important to us. We wanted to make sure we balanced our roster. And some of those transfers I talked about, one of them is a graduate transfer. A couple of them were younger guys. Couple were kind of sophomore, junior type guys. And so it's been a lot of different kinds of players. Our leading tackler is a transfer from Navy, and he's been a very high character guy. We have a safety that came from Colorado that's been a real team leader for us. And you just go through our roster and you start looking at some of the transfers we had, and a lot of those kids are some of the hardest working, best teammates, most committed, very unselfish kids that we have in our program. And so, I think in a lot of ways it really helped our culture. It created competition. Those guys were hungry. Those guys had experience and had been in programs. Some of them have been in really successful programs, and it's really, I think, been a great infusion of not only talent but character in our program. And we had to, again, be very intentional about that.
How did the Hypnotoad come about?
You know what? I saw the Hypnotoad for the first time at a basketball game when I was here. Got done recruiting and started going to some basketball games. They played it on the video board in basketball, and the first time I saw it, I was like, "What in the world is this?" It's all these crazy clips, and it appealed to kind of the strange part of my my personality. Had some great clips from Gene Wilder and Young Frankenstein, and the kind of the goofy stuff like that. And I thought, this is kind of cool. It became something I looked forward to when I went to the basketball games. And then they did the same thing, updated it, I think, a little bit for football. And it's really strange. I don't know how or why, but it seems like it really energizes our stadium and energizes our players whenever they play it, and has kind of been a good luck charm for us. So, then all of a sudden we put it on a sweatshirt, and the rest is history. Everybody went crazy, and now the Hypnotoad is all powerful.
All powerful, it is. It's unbeaten. Sonny, you when I've watched your team, and there's explosive, dynamic playmakers, and obviously the guys in the trenches. But what I've come to see, like for example, I remember covering Kendry Miller when he was at Mount Enterprise, a little tiny 2A school at Deep East Texas. But what I see are tough as hell, wiry, strong, and that doesn't mean, that's not saying that they're not also physically strong, but a team that is just tough as heck. With Kaz Kazadi, strength and conditioning, and you've known him because he was with you at SMU as well. Do you also see that too, as far as just a team that is just tough?
Yeah, I think that's the best trademark of our team. Obviously, we've got some good players, and we've got good team speed and some good individuals. But we have there's a toughness that kind of runs through our program, and I do think that Kaz Kazadi is obviously a big part of that. I think our guys really, really like to play football. You know what I mean? I think that's been the thing that I've been the most impressed with. In the world of NIL, in the world of the transfer portal, in the world of all this stuff that people view as negatives and selfishness and all the things that people talk about all the time, our guys just really enjoy practicing and playing. And that's not always the case. I mean, I've coached on some good teams and I've coached some bad teams. But a lot of times you had to beg those teams to practice, and you had to, try to find ways to motivate them all the time and tricks and all this stuff. And you don't have to do any of that with these guys. I mean, you roll a football out and they go and they compete and they enjoy it. And they really like each other. I mean, it's one of those teams that the chemistry is really special. It's really an unselfish group of guys. I mean, they're really, really hungry. There's been all this kind of talk externally about college football playoff and rankings and bowl games and Big 12 championship and all that. And truly, I've never heard a single one of our players talk about any of those things. I mean, the guys they have fun around each other. They play hard for each other. And they really talk about practice and working hard and preparing and trying to do the right thing. And let's go see what happens on Saturday. And at the end of the year, we'll add it all up and see where we are. And that's been the approach that this group has taken. And it's really been a lot of fun to be a part of it.
Something happened in the last game that Smokey and Craig and I used to see a lot. Travis Hodges-Tomlinson ran under a ball that was left in the air too long. When he was in high school at Midway covering his games, his attitude was like, you can beat me once, but do it again. Ironically, one of the ones that sticks out in my mind the most is Quentin did it to him one time, and then after that, It was a battle for the rest of that game. What is it like to have a guy like that on defense who, if it's the hang time is a tenth of a second too long, he's going to at least get over and knock it over?
Yeah, I mean, the greatest thing about him is he's one of the most competitive people that I've ever met. I mean, he is ultra competitive. He's not the biggest guy in the world, and he understands that. But there's nobody that competes harder than he does. I mean, truly. I mean, when that ball is snapped, I mean, you know exactly what you're going to get. He's going to give it everything he has on every single play and take a tremendous amount of pride and in his performance and doing his job. And he's one of those kids that we talked about earlier. I mean, he is just a tough kid, and doesn't want anything. He wants to earn everything he gets, and he just really enjoys competing. And it doesn't matter what it is. And he's got a great knack for the football. He's not big, as I said earlier, but he can cover big receivers because he's got a great sense of timing. He does a fantastic job putting his body on the defender, and then being able to go up and play the football. And he can jump probably 40 plus inches and all that kind of stuff. But his biggest attribute is, again, just his competitiveness and his toughness.
How good was it to have the quarterback room you had? You made the decision. Chandler Morris, he goes down. Max Duggan, we all know his history, experience, and toughness as well. To have that and then just kind of watch this team take off.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, Max is we have a really good quarterback room to start with. I mean, Chandler is a really talented guy, had a great spring, had an unbelievable fall camp. He was the guy that we were going to roll with. Got injured in the second half of the Colorado game, and Max stepped right in and took the job and ran with it, just as you would expect in a veteran quarterback to do. Max is one of those guys that he makes every single person around him better. He just has that ability to make plays, to elevate people's game. Again, he's got a toughness about him and a selflessness that's, really permeated our program. And he's a good athlete. I mean, he can really run. He's got good size. He's a tough runner. He's got a strong arm. He's still developing. He's a passer. I think he gets better and better every single week. But he just makes our team better. He makes the plays in the ball game that you have to make in order to win it. And so that's, it's not always real pretty, but he finds a way to grind it out and get it done. And as I said, I mean, I think, our team is kind of taking on his personality. And so that's kind of who we are. And I think a big part of that's because of Max.
Sonny, one more question, if you don't mind, is that last year Baylor was one of the great stories in college football with what Dave Aranda and company did, winning the Big 12 and then a Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss. This year, right now, and it appears as if you are right there at that same level with, in fact, even more so because you're undefeated. Baylor at 6-4 got bloodied pretty good by K-State. What do you expect Saturday to see with Baylor?
Well, I expect to see a really good football team. I mean, they're a physical team. They're kind of built a lot like we are. They're a line of scrimmage team, built up, big up front, powerful, strong. They want to run the football. So it ought to be a great contest that way. I mean, they want to stop the run defensively. We want to do the same thing. They want to run the ball on offense. We want to do the same thing. They've got a lot of speed, a lot of playmakers. I really like the running backs. I think those guys are really good football players. The quarterback's playing well. So I expect it to be a very, very physical, hard-fought, tough football game. And I have a ton of respect for Dave. He's a heck of a football coach, really smart guy. I know his team's going to play hard. They're going to be well coached and, well prepared. So we'll have our hands full, but it's exciting. I mean, it's a rivalry game between, TCU and Baylor, and I think our players are excited to play.
Does it seem like this team doesn't pay attention to outside noise as each game gets to be more important?
I think we have up to this point. I mean, look, we were picked 7th in the league, and so we didn't listen to it. And that's what we kind of said at the beginning. Look, let's don't listen to it when they were talking about how bad we are, and let's don't make the mistake of listening to it when they're telling you how great you are. I think the thing we got to do is just prepare well and work hard. And, when we get to Saturday, then we got to go out and empty the tank and play as hard as we can and play smart, a winning style of football. And, we've been able to do that so far. And as I said, we'll have our hands full on Saturday for sure. But, our guys have a lot of confidence and they're looking forward to competing.
Sonny, congratulations on what you've done so far. Good luck going forward. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a great story.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Sonny
Okay,
Dykes, head coach at TCU, Baylor and TCU.